The TrekWorks YouTube channel is sponsored by Tenant Controls. And by HDA Model Works, suppliers of scale model lighting products, detail parts, and complete model kits. Visit HDAModelWorks.com today. Well, hello again everybody, Boyd here with you, and welcome to part 2 of our 72-inch Classic Enterprise build series. I've been making some more progress on the model since we saw you guys last time, taking you through the whole experience here of working on this wonderful kit. Just everything has been going really well so far. I've been working a little bit more mainly on getting some of these windows opened up. You can see I've started to move my way down the neck a little bit here, and I did a pass over with the basic opening for all the little round windows that go on the hull. And I just have to take my time. Like I mentioned before, this is really a slow process because this is made of carbon fiber and it's really tough. I'll probably actually wear out a couple of my files in the process of doing this. I can already tell just by doing some of the filing so far that I started to have a couple of my files get kind of dull. But that's okay. The files are really inexpensive, and I'll go pick up another set here and keep working my way forward. Just to give you guys an update on some of the little things I've been working on. You guys have seen the deflector dish here before, but now I've gone ahead and painted the inner part, and right now it's just done in a gloss, but you can see it came out really nice. I was a little worried about painting this because as I mentioned, this is all in one piece, and it was kind of hard to get down in here around the edges and everything and get all that painted. But I was able to just turn my airbrush on really low air pressure setting, about 18 psi. That's about the minimal I could get it turned down to before it would start, the paint would start to splatter and everything when it came out. And I was able to get that in there without getting a lot of runs or anything. This will all get, coated down with some dull coat, so it looks not quite as glossy, but that's going to turn out really nice. I'll be able to go back now and mask off the inner part and paint the exterior parts here once I come up with the hull color and everything. That's a ways down the road. We're going to worry about painting at the very end. Here you can see I worked on the bridge BC deck. I've got all my windows cut out on this now, and I've got all the resin put in the windows. It's been masked and primed just to kind of see how it turned out. You can see I've got a really nice sheen on this from a lot of sanding. I wet sanded this all the way down to 1000 grit. So it's going to really take the paint nice. My goal on this is to do a really nice paint job. I painted cars for years, and this is just like painting a car to me. It's kind of big, and it's kind of more what I'm used to, so I think I can do a really good job on the paint job. We want to have a nice, smooth, kind of satin finish on this model when we're done. But that came out really nice. So I'm pretty much done with that part until I get to the painting process. I've sent the bridge off to Jerry at HDA Model Works, like I mentioned. That's going to get redesigned, that little 3D printed bridge that I showed you, so that it can be assembled in a couple of pieces. The floor is going to be separate, and a couple other parts, probably the chairs and a few other things, so we can get in there and do all that painting. It was going to be really difficult to paint that with the way it was all in one piece, and that's a essential part that has to look really good. You'll be able to see it through the top of the bridge dome at pretty large scale. The same thing with the inside of the shuttle bay. We really want to do a nice job on that. But one of the major things that I'm working on here next, guys, is I've talked to you about this a little bit, and again, talking about how I want to take you guys through this whole process. Coming up with the armature to support this model. Once it's fully assembled and mounted, it needs to be a really strong internal structure so that we have full support, for the full length of the ship. It will stay, nice and straight and nice and strong for a long time, hopefully generations. Who knows, this model may wind up on display somewhere, and I want it to last for a long time, so people for many generations can come and see it. And so the work that we put into that in the very beginning, the foundation of the model has to be really strong. Now there's a kit out there from Jim Keyes that's been around for years. It's a 66-inch Enterprise. It's done in fiberglass, and I think that kit is actually available again under a different name. You may want to search around a little bit on the internet if you want to find out more information about that kit. Now that's pretty much a complete kit too. It comes with its own internal armature and the wiring, all kinds of accessories. At least the original kit did. I'm not sure what it does now, but I think it probably still comes with an internal armature already made for you. Well, in our case here, we didn't have that. We just had the raw kit. And so I had to design an armature for this. Now I'm going to go with the kind of the same concept as what's on the Keyes kit. They have an internal, just basically a flat plate. So I made a pattern here. I just basically took a big piece of cardboard and laid it down, and then put the model, the hull, on top of it, and I traced around it. Then I cut that out, and then I shrunk this down, cutting on it a little bit at a time until where it fits good inside of the hull right here, as you can see. The plan is to make this out of some 1/4 inch thick acrylic, and then what will happen is all along these flat plates here, wherever I need to do my hull lighting, I can just lay pieces of LED strip tape, depending on where I need to light, and that'll shine towards each side. We'll put it on this side and then on the other side, and this will kind of sit in here right in the middle. Up here on these flat plates up here, there'll be a little bit of LED tape for some of the forward lighting, but we're going to have enough room to mount our control boards right in here for our lighting for the flashing navigation lights and the little blinker here at the rear. I think a lot of people call that the ion pod. So with this little piece right here attaching onto the front with magnets, that will be removable. You can see that currently the hull has this whole area enclosed in the front. So I'll be shaving about this much of this off of here and leaving a lip maybe about a 1/4 inch wide all the way around there, and that's where I'll be able to mount my magnets and everything. I may have to put some kind of a little gasket here that'll act like a damper, so we won't have any kind of light leaks coming out of there. That'll be something I'll figure out as we go along. But so we'll have the ability to take the forward deflector housing off, and then access to the control boards. I think I'm going to put some little platforms right here with little slots or something, so that they could actually be slid out, and they'll be hooked up with wire connectors and not hard soldered. A lot of the Tenant Controls boards, which we're planning on using for this, have the little connectors that plug right onto the board. So chances are we'll probably never have to do anything with the control boards. All the boards I've gotten from Tenant Controls have lasted 6 or 7 years on some of the models I built a while ago, and they haven't had a single problem yet. So we should be fine, but we'll have a couple of backup boards that'll always be with the model wherever it goes, and that way instant replacement if anything should happen to go wrong. Now getting into the design of this a little bit more, I created this little extra piece right here. This whole thing's going to get sent off to Jerry, and he's going to cut this all out with his laser cutter out of acrylic. But this piece basically goes in this little slot back here, as you can see, and then it contacts the bottom of the main pylon supports. If I can get my hand out of the way there, it contacts the bottom of this, and that'll all get epoxy glued into place, kind of something like this. You can see that if I can change angles for you so you can see it, and that'll make the whole rear half of this secured. And then we have the rest of the open area back here is where the shuttle bay goes, and I'll have to build little mounts in here out of acrylic to support the shuttle bay in there and brace it all in and everything. The really nice thing about this model is that the way the shuttle bay was designed, it fits in here a whole lot better than it does, say, on the 350 scale Polar Lights kit, where that's really hard to work that in there. I've actually had to go in on that model several times and shave away material in there on the inside of the plastic because it fits so tight. But this goes in with plenty of room, and the nice thing is that there's all kinds of room all the way around it to do all the lighting too, like the lighting we need to put up here at the top to shine down into the shuttle bay to light up the that overhead lighting that's in there. All the lights on the sides for the windows and everything are going to be plenty of room to get all that in. So that's going to be really nice on this. And so we have basically the structure there. Now going up forward again, as I mentioned, we've got this little support back here which will support the whole back half of the armature. Going up a little bit forward, you can see I've drawn, I've got a little notch out of this right here. What we're going to do is we're going to create a plate that fits in the bottom of this. It's going to be about 3 inches wide if you look at it from, rotated around to the front. And the thickness of that will be this thickness that you see right here between the floor and this little notch. And then it'll be sort of a T shape upside down with a, an opening in the middle that will slide over, or slide over the top on both sides of this 1/4 inch thick acrylic. It will have a tube in the center of it that's going to be 3/4 of an inch inside diameter. That will be the size of the tube that we use, steel rod that will mount the model. And so that will slide up inside here. It'll be tapered at the top where it tapers down to 1/2 inch, and that way it can't pop all the way through. Now my plan is for the main power coming into this model, I'm going to use an old style headphone jack. If you guys are familiar with those, or the type of jack that you see on like an old guitar power cord, that goes to the amp between the guitar and the amplifier. It's a pretty thick, long, metal jack, and it has a female jack on there. The female jack will get mounted here inside the, armature. The other one will be permanently attached to the tubing. I'm going to make a little plate, so when the model is, lowered down onto it, it will slide up inside that tube and be fully supported, and then that plug will plug in, and that will provide all the power coming into the model. That way it can rotate 360 degrees real smooth, be really strong, and you can easily lift the model right up off of it for storage or movement. Now we're probably going to make 2 different display stands for this. One that's going to be sort of a low profile one, so the model can sit like on a desktop or a tabletop, and the other one will be a probably 4 or 5 foot tall one that will be like a tripod with caster wheels and things, lockable caster wheels. So the model could be displayed like at a forum or something like that. We're planning on taking this model to the IPMS Nationals here in San Antonio, or actually in San Marcos. It's just outside of San Antonio, in 2020, and having it on display there. So in that kind of a setting, you want the model kind of, more up in the air, maybe at about, I'm about 6 foot tall, maybe about chest level to me, or maybe just slightly lower, where it can be on display and you can, have a really clear view of the model, the top and the bottom. And so Jerry, who I'm building this model for, he'll have 2 options as far as how he wants to display it. If he's got a desk or a shelf in his house, he'll be able to put it on that, and it'll be a low profile. Only the rod will only be like maybe 6 inches long or so, and it'll be able to sit on top of a table. But at the same time, it'll be able to swivel and all that. Now, so the mount for that is all figured out for down here. I'll have to have it to where it's a little bit adjustable, because once I go to put it in, we'll probably have a couple of slots in it where some screws can be put in to tighten it down once we glue it and figure out its placement. But I want to have some side-to-side adjustability on that, so that when we put it in here, because when we put this armature in, we might wind up being not perfectly true to the ship and the inside. So if it was a little bit crooked up or down this way, I'll be able to put a level on that and figure it out. And then once I lock this down here and glue it with epoxy, and then put some set screws in it, it will be permanently set in that position, and the ship will be nice and level. So that's how that's going to work. Now up here at the top, you can see I've been going over, talking with Jerry about this, about how I wanted to design the saucer to attach onto this. So what we've got going on here is I've come up with this idea of we've got the the 1/4 inch thick acrylic plate running all the way up to here. We're going to create a little plate that runs across on the neck right above the last row of windows here on the top, which there's still quite a bit of room to make that fairly thick and strong. That will fit the inside contour of the neck here on both sides, as if this was, both sides were put together. And that will get glued to the top of this plate right here, with a couple little gussets coming in along the sides, some small pieces of acrylic that will be cut at an angle to support the lateral, twisting action of that thing and make it really strong. That acrylic, and especially 1/4 inch thick cut that thin, is going to be really, really strong, and it'll never break. I mean, you'd have to kick this, a mule would have to kick this thing before it would break. You can't protect against every single scenario, but this is going to be really strong, and under most normal handling circumstances, it'll last for a really, really long time. So the plate will be on there. there are going to be a couple of metal thread inserts that'll be put into that and epoxied in, and this will be slotted out to accommodate those. And then at the top of the inside of the saucer, there'll be another plate that's made that, you know, kind of fits that contour. It'll probably be about 6 inches wide, and it will go under the top, and that will be epoxied down inside of the saucer. There'll be 2 holes drilled through that, and there'll be I'm going to epoxy some, you know, really nice washers onto the top of that so that they'll stay on there permanently. And we're going to use a couple of chrome moly Allen screws to attach the saucer to the top, you know, the top of the saucer, or the lower, you know, lower half of the saucer to the neck here, and that will make a really strong connection. It'll be easy to remove if you ever want to remove it, and you know, if you want to store it, if you're going to ship the model somewhere or something like that, that's going to work out really great. Now I'm going to keep that same concept of having a couple of jacks here. This time they're going to be smaller, like 3mm type male jacks that are going to stick up right here. They'll be, you know, glued onto the armature here, and the females will, the receiving end of those will be inside the upper part of the saucer, so that whenever you drop the saucer down on here, the jacks will plug in, and it'll provide all the power for all the lighting, and then it'll also provide a separate circuit for the navigation lighting effect that'll come out of the control board, which will be mounted down here, and that way we can have that removable. So that's the plan for that, and it's pretty straightforward. It should work out really good. It's just a matter of, I got to sit down here and I'm going to get some modeling clay that dries hard, and I'm going to make the, you know, fit the piece in here and shape it and everything, and then once it dries, I'll send that mold off to Jerry along with this, and he'll come up with the parts that we need. We may you know, do this process 2 or 3 times until we get it completely fine-tuned. But Jerry's got lots of that acrylic, and he's, you know, got the ability to cut it with his laser. It'll cut it pretty fast, so we'll get that all worked out. Now, the same concept is going to happen here for the engine pylons. If I can grab one of these really quick, I'll show you what I'm talking about. This basically goes in here like this. This down in here. See, I want to make sure I'm going the right way. These fit nice and tight, so that's what we want. You can see it kind of plugs in there like a socket, and there is no play in this at all, guys. I mean, it's rock solid. So these aren't going to get glued on the bottom half. They're just going to remain, you know, with gravity holding them in. And up here at the top, because on the Enterprise, even on the Smithsonian model, you'll see that they don't have this area around here completely filled in and flush, like it's, you know, perfect, like this is part of the hull. There is a seam, a really small seam all the way around that, because, you know, the logic of this being removable makes more sense, and that's just how the original ship was done. You see that exact same line or seam around the pylons on the Enterprise refit, and you know, I've seen a few people putty over those, but in reality, if you look at the studio model and the way it looks on the movie, you'll see a big line right around here where this is obviously supposed to be a separate piece. But getting past that, so this pylon will go on here, but at the top I'm going to have a couple more of those 3mm male jacks that are going to be put into this little channel right here, and they'll plug into female jacks that are inside of the engine nacelle. So the engine nacelle at the top will be removable. You'll just be able to slide it right off. When you slide it down on here, it'll make contact, and we're going to have 2 separate circuits in there. We're going to have one for the speed of the spinning cages. You know, we're going to actually do the mechanical spinning effect on this and not use LEDs. We're going to try to copy the original, you know, the Smithsonian model. And then the twinkling effect of the Bassard collectors, which I've given Ralph a couple of ideas on how I want to do a startup sequence on this. You know, I don't think it's really been done before. You know, you see the Enterprise and it just kind of comes on and everything, the original ship, where I gave Ralph a couple ideas that I had about a power-up sequence that he's going to work on for us. So we needed to have a couple of separate circuits in there for that. If we just were going to power it on, all we needed was 2 wires, a plus and a minus, or 1 jack, and that would have took care of everything. But since we're going to do this separately, we need 2 circuits. But you can see the idea behind that. It'll simply plug in and be removable whenever you want to. So that's where that's going, guys. In between now and the next video, you're going to see I'll have a lot of the window work done. As I said, I'm going to go buy a new set of files probably tomorrow, and by the time you see this again in about a week, hopefully I'll have all the windows done on both sides of the hull, and the only ones that will remain then will be the ones on the saucer, which I don't have to worry about for a while. But that way my goal is to get all this prep work done, and then get the armature back from Jerry. It'll probably take a couple of months for the armature, maybe a month or so. Get that worked out, get that in here, and then I can get the secondary hull all in one piece, because what I want to be able to do is get the shuttle bay worked in here, get the armature in, get it all wired up on the inside, get all the lighting installed, and then get it on its permanent low profile mounting base that we're going to use. We're just for the build series for a while, you're just going to see, I don't know, probably just a block of wood or whatever, because I'm going to be doing a lot of painting and a lot of work. We'll make something really nice at the end. We've got a couple of ideas we're kicking around for that. But for now, I want to have a secure base, platform to work on. So once the secondary hull is finished, the windows are all done, all the lighting is done, this will all be in one piece. That's pretty much the foundation of the entire model. I'll want to get all my paint work done on it. I'll paint this before I put the saucer and the engines on. We'll be painting all from the same batch of paint, so we don't have to worry about our matching or anything. And I'll be able to do all that with this kind of more out in the open. Trying to paint this model with the engines on it and all that other stuff, it's really big and gangly, and it'd be a lot easier to do it that way. So you can kind of see my logic for why I want to do it that way. So, and that'll keep it off the bench. It won't be touching anything anymore. Won't be getting scratched or banged around. And so we'll go from there. So one last thing I want to show you guys before we go. This pulls out of here really hard, but that's a good thing. Sorry about the noise, you guys. There we go. Comes right out. I got the new parts in from Jerry this week for our impulse deck, and this is something I'm suggesting to Jerry that he may look at for putting out these parts for the small 1/350 scale, because these are absolutely gorgeous. They have a design here where you have this sort of it's going to be hard to see on the camera, but they have sort of a trapezoid little design in here. All these little kind of honeycomb pattern that you see that was prevalent throughout the engineering on the original ship. You remember those red grates that they had on the walls and stuff, and in some of the crew quarters you saw that the kind of honeycomb, they were painted orange, but this kind of similar concept here. And you've got these little grills, another insert that goes over the top of that, and these are beautifully 3D printed. They look absolutely fantastic. Now this slides into the impulse deck here. I'm going to put these in one at a time here and show you how this looks. We got the one that goes over the top here, the little kind of get this in here the right way. The little grill work, and then behind it, at the very back, you have this beautiful little backup plate here that has castings in it for 3, I believe 5mm LEDs. And Jerry's already tested this out and everything, and the LEDs sit in there, and it creates a beautiful effect. I mean, a really nice, this basically pops into the back of here. Now these could be done at a smaller scale for the 1/350. Of course, this could be brought down in size, and you can see how really nice that fits on there. The 350 scale part, this whole inner part here is all hollow, so you just have to glue this in from the back, and then you've already got the access holes at the back of the saucer on the kit. But it would allow you to mount your LEDs in there. You'd have to drop those down in size to maybe like 3mm, and maybe only need 2 or something like that. But the effect here, when I light this up, guys, later on and you see this, you're going to really like it. It gives a really classic TOS look to it. It completely looks like it was meant to be there. Now, we know on the big ship that, the 11-footer, these don't light up. They never lit those. But we got to do a couple little extra things to make it a little bit beyond what the original was. And I don't think we're breaking the Star Trek canon Bible too much by doing little things like that. But it's just a beautiful effect. It will look awesome when you see it in person, when people get to see this model eventually. So just another fun thing that we're working on. Thought we'd share that with you. So that's it, guys. Not a whole lot of progress. Just, like I said, I'm making little baby steps here and there. I'm really taking my time on this model. No hurry whatsoever. As I mentioned in the very beginning of this build series, you're not going to see this finished in a month or whatever. The completion target date, the mandatory date, is by July of next year, because that's when the nationals are. But I hope to be done hopefully maybe by late fall or early winter here with this, and we'll have it all set and put away and ready to go, and start showing it and everything. So, but the next video will come back, like I said, probably about a week or so, and you'll see hopefully all these windows done, and that'll be a huge step. Once that's done, I can start, really get into the detail of actually putting big pieces together. And I just wanted to share all the details of this build with you guys along the way. That's what we've always done here on the channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed, even though some of it's not the most exciting stuff. In the meantime, when I'm working on this model, I'm going to be doing a couple of new kits. I've got a classic TOS era Battlestar Galactica kit from Mobius. It's actually a client build that came in, working on it for my client Robert, who, if you guys remember, I did a 1/350 scale classic Enterprise for him, I guess about 2 years ago now, that we did all the Aztec paneling on it, and it came out really nice, and he was really happy with that. Robert's a really good guy, and we're going to be doing a classic Battlestar Galactica. I think he wants to go with a different name, possibly like Atlantia or something like that, but we're going to be doing some lighting on that. We're going to light up the the landing bays with the sequencing light effects, and a whole bunch of cool stuff on that kit. And then I've got a couple of sci-fi kits here that I've got on my shelf. I'm gonna do a video here in the next couple of weeks and put it out there for you guys. You can look forward to that. I'll let you. I'm gonna let the viewers pick which kit we build this time. There are a couple of sci-fi kits. One's a Star Trek kit, and the other one's not. But we're gonna let the viewers select the kit, and that's gonna be our kind of own in-shop personal fun build here that we're going to be working on, and you guys will get to follow along with that one, and we may use some aftermarket parts and stuff like that, but we'll just have some fun with that, and that way that'll keep everything going in between the updates on the big Enterprise here. I've got a couple of car kits that I'm going to work on. I haven't built a car in a while. I'm going to share those with you guys. Like I said, I like to build just about everything here on the channel. Sci-fi has always been my favorite, but I love all types of modeling, and it helps keep people that are interested in those other things here on the channel satisfied for what they want to see. So, okay, you guys, that's a wrap for this one. I've got to shut it down now and turn the air conditioner back on. It's pretty hot in here, guys. I hope it's cooler where you are. So we'll see you next time, everyone. Take care, and happy modeling, everyone.